Oh man. Oh man. The ACC is just terrible. Is it the worst conference in college football? I'm talking about the Power Four. Is it? I mean, it's making a strong case. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. Welcome to the channel. I'm glad you're here. If you don't know me, I'm Brian. What's so funny about my accent and people with my accent, they turn the name Brian to Brian. Turkey Brian. Brine. I need to change it on here. Brian. Anyway, if you like talking college football, Clemson football, and random blurtings outs like I just did just a second ago, and semi-poor grammar, this is your channel, and I hope you'll subscribe. Drop me a line in here and let me know that you're in here. I want to tell you this. I want to brag on y'all. So 2 weeks ago, I told everyone, I said, hey, on August the 31st, which is Clemson, Georgia game, my channel will be 2 years old. And I said, I'd love to get to 4,000 subscribers. Folks, because of you, this morning I went over 4,600 subscribers. So I'm barreling towards 6,000 or 5,000 subscribers. Thank y'all. Really, thank you. It is free, and it is the easiest way to support the channel, and I really appreciate it. So thank you so much. I hope others who hasn't subscribed will subscribe, but let's talk about this. The ACC started off kind of odd in week 0, Georgia Tech beating Florida State, and a lot of people narrowed that down to Georgia Tech being better than what everybody thought, which is a big compliment to Brent Key in the short amount of time he's been there. And maybe it was just Florida State getting caught off guard. It wasn't like they got drugged. Florida State lost by a walk-off field goal at the end of the game. Then you fast forward to the following weekend, week 1. And things got weird. Now, pause there. Let's go back to week 0. SMU had their struggles with Nevada. Nevada almost beat SMU. Now, I didn't think that SMU was a dark horse to win the ACC. I really didn't believe that, but I thought that they would at least be more competitive. Others thought that they would be a dark horse. Well, they almost lost to Nevada. We go, that's week 0. It's not even week 1. We get into week 1. As Clemson fans, we don't want to talk about what happened over this past weekend. In fact, there's still people in denial of where we're at in the program. You know, there you can go through my comment section and you can see people still saying, hey, we're just, you know, this, that, and the other. Anyway, but Clemson got demolished by a team. And yes, they might be Georgia, but by 31 points, that's not acceptable. It's unacceptable. Then let's get to NC State, a team that went to the transfer portal, got some really good players, especially on the offensive side of the football. And the offense took some moments for them to gel. I mean, Grayson McCall did throw a pick, but he did throw it for over 300 yards. KC Concepcion came out and played well, but Western Carolina, little old team, little FCS school from up in Colowee, North Carolina. A lot of you like Cola what? Colowee. It's up there in that Bryson City, Cherokee general area of North Carolina, Western North Carolina. They were giving NC State all they could handle. And if you go and you look at that score, you go, well, Brian, NC State beat Western Carolina 38-21. That looks really commanding to me. Well, until you realize that was a late touchdown by, I want to say it was Jordan Waters. Yeah, it's Jordan Waters who had that late touchdown. NC State was down, I believe, 21-17 going into the fourth quarter. Little Western Carolina, give them everything they can handle. Let's move a little quicker. North Carolina played Minnesota. I'm not impressed with Minnesota. Hadn't been impressed with Minnesota in quite a while. Everybody else, for some reason, is. I'm not. And if y'all would like to explain to me why they're so good, yet they're anyway. I'm sorry. I'm not going to lie to my eyes. North Carolina barely beat them by 2 points. It's kind of a sleeper. Poor Max Johnson broke his leg. He's done for the year. We saw Duke struggle with Elon. This is the beginning of the Manny Diaz era with Malik Murphy, the transfer from Texas at quarterback. They struggled with Elon for a little bit, then won 26-3. Virginia Tech, a true dark horse according to a lot of people. Even I thought that they would upset Clemson this year, but I'm not even going to pull from that after what I saw my Tigers do this past Saturday. I'm not going to walk away from that. I'll revisit it each week to see if I'll stick with it. But Virginia Tech played Vanderbilt. Yes, the nerds of the SEC. And they lost 34-27 in overtime. In fact, at halftime, Vanderbilt was up 17-3. Virginia Tech a lot of their fans are calling for their head coach's head. Syracuse 38-22 over Ohio. Not impressive, but they still won. At least give them that. Georgia Tech struggled a little bit against Georgia State. The schools are 2 miles apart? But Georgia Tech ended up winning 35-12. You could say, okay, that blah, blah, blah. And SMU beat the crap out of some Christian school. And then came last night. Florida State, supposed to rebound. I predicted that they would rebound. But in the back of my mind, I was like, Bill O'Brien is coaching Boston College. And say what you will about him, but when he took over Penn State after that whole Sandusky, Paterno, terrible, awful scenario that happened down there, he was the guy who took over Penn State and held them together. Ended up going to work for the Houston Texans as their head coach, and there's different opinions on how people feel about him there. But he took over. They went to Florida State, a team who just got beat by 3 points on a walk-off field goal. This is the home opener. A lot of people are really irritated at Norvell. Everybody's mad at DJ, though I've said that, yeah, DJ holds his weight in this, but that defense didn't look good and the offensive line didn't look good. Surely they wouldn't lose to Florida State in their home opener, especially after an emotional loss on another continent. That's exactly what they did. They lost 28-13 to Boston College. Come on now. So that leads me to this video. By the way, Miami did beat a bad Florida team, and Cam Ward did look good. But before we start waving the banners and proclaim them not only the ACC champions, before we say that these guys are back and they're going to contend for a national championship, put down the Mad Dog 20 and let them prove it for themselves. Because here's the sad thing about Miami. Miami has looked good in other games before early on in the season. And then they blow it. They always recruit well because, well, have you ever seen where Miami's located versus where the great recruits are located? I mean, they can go to the restroom to take a dump, and the guy in the next stall could be easily a 3-star at a McDonald's. So before we wave the flag and say that the Canes, the U is back, which they may be, I don't know. History will tell. I can tell you one thing, excluding the Canes at this point, the ACC is terrible. Why do I want to talk about the ACC being terrible, and how does it relate to these guys? Here's my fear. Yes, I said fear. I am really concerned that if the ACC is as bad as it looks, that Clemson, after their 31-point loss to a team that 5 years ago they might have beat, 7 years ago they would have beat, 6 years ago, they would have beat Georgia this past Saturday. Even if Georgia had all their players, 6 years ago, that would have been the Trevor Lawrence ETN team that won the national championship. They would have beat Georgia. They'd have beat them. Georgia could have strained, pushed. Kirby's got them over there chopping wood. They'd have lost. But that's not Clemson football anymore. Right now, I don't know what we're focused on. I really don't. Also, by the way, saw the depth chart for this Saturday, And someone didn't learn to put in different wide receivers. I'm going to leave that at that. But if you want to go barf a little, go pull up the depth chart for Saturday, and you're going to see some players who I just think that we need to put in the freshmen. Leave it at that. But I'm afraid, I'm heavily concerned that Clemson is actually going to come out, and because the ACC is so bad, not because Clemson improved, but because the ACC is so bad, Clemson might actually make it to the conference championship. Now, for some of you, you're totally fine with that. You're like, well, hey, we can't help the strength of our schedule. We can't help the conference and blah, 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 blah. And I get where you're going with that. Remember, that's what was thrown in our face when we were winning games during that Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson era. And people used to be able to say that about us. But when Clemson played the big teams, those big teams lost and Clemson prevailed. That's not the case anymore in Clemson. Don't lie to yourself. You lied to yourself about the Georgia game. I'm not going to let you lie to yourself about this. If you really want the team that you claim you love so much to actually get better, they can't fool themselves. We can't fool ourselves into believing that they're better because they beat a bunch of bad football teams that just happens to be worse than them. And that's my concern. My concern is that the ACC is so bad as a whole that Clemson doesn't have to improve. But they could just win against these terrible teams, and we all get a false sense that, well, see, that Georgia game was terrible, but we got better. Only to prolong all the things that are wrong at Clemson. And instead of fixing it, instead of being taken by the shoulders and woke up, you need to wake up, my friend. We stay asleep thinking that we got better, and then the chaos continues to ensue. Clemson doesn't need this. And if you're a real Clemson fan, you don't really want that, I don't think. I'm concerned. I'm concerned for the conference as a whole. I'm not a Florida State fan. I'm not a North Carolina fan, not an NC State fan. I am a Clemson fan, and I'm not a conference man. I think a lot of that is a joke. I used to pick, and still do pick at some SEC fans because they talk about their conference and how strong it is, but their team that they pull for is absolute trash. And it's like, wow, oh, wow, so you're a Georgia fan? No, I pull from Mississippi State. Then why are you talking about Georgia's accomplishments? I mean, it's not like you're in a conversation about Georgia. You're just talking about the strength of the SEC, but your personal team couldn't climb their way out of a wet paper sack. So I'm not one of those conference guys. At the same time, it is concerning that this conference is that bad. FSU, once again, you can take shots at DJ all you want to. And DJ, that interception he threw was just terrible. I mean, it just looked like DJ that played at Clemson and DJ that played at Oregon State. I think he is a good athlete. Y'all just hang with me. I think he needs to change positions. And he'll go make more money than all of us. He can go be a tight end or something, and he'll make a lot of money, and it'll be fine. I'm not going to just trash the guy. He's not a kid, he's a guy. But my point in saying all of this is that Florida State looked bad as a team. Clemson kept it together last week. They kept it together last week against Georgia in the first half, and it was the defense. But what did I tell you all off season? The defense is going to come out and play great. But the offense, my fear is the offense is going to come out there, lay a golden turd, and because the defensive players are so tired, they're eventually going to start giving up points. And folks, it was almost like I was a psychic, like I need to have one of those 1-800 call Brian college football psychic hotlines. Hey, Brian, what's going to happen? I sit there and rub my stomach after eating. I let the gas out, and suddenly it guides me to if your team's going to win or lose, and how. You're like, are you that good? No, I'm not. No, really. I'm not being facetious here, and I literally, I know I'm not that good. It's called just learning from history, paying attention to the progression or the lack thereof of your team, and then look at your opponent and go, oh, they are that good, and we haven't progressed. The same media outlets, whether local or national, they're writing the same things they wrote about Clemson these past 3 seasons. Very vague. It's almost like regurgitating a depth chart. Oh, that left end over there, 6'3", 255, he dropped 5 pounds over this. That's reading a depth chart. That's not telling me whether they're progressing or not. I'm sorry. I could care less how much our offensive line weighs if they can't block. I could care less if our field goal kicker can hit a 70-yard field goal if he misses the uprights 7 out of 10 times. Good Lord. Clemson looked bad. The defense didn't in the first half, and the only reason they did in the second half is because they were tired. The offense did what they've been doing season number 4 in a row. When are you going to realize there's a trend? Then you go to UNC. Love Mac Brown. I think Mac Brown is I don't know him, obviously, don't know him personally. I think Mac Brown is a likable guy. But over the past few years, I think it's time for him to go back to chilling out and not coaching anymore. I really do. I really, really do. I think that, and he does not, and I'm not making fun of him. Please don't take this way. Over the past 2 years, he has significantly aged. And I mean, I hate that for him. I mean, it's called getting older. But I just don't think that Mac Brown it should be coaching right now. NC State proves, just like Clemson proves, that you have to play ball on both sides of the football, and I want to include them on this, but obviously there's special teams. You have to make field goals. You can't, fumble the ball on punt and kick returns and all that good stuff. But NC State has a good offense. They were just trying to figure some things out the other night, but that defense was horrendous. I know they were missing like one player that I know of that's a really good cornerback, but I'm sorry, folks, it doesn't make up for how bad they were playing. Either Western Carolina was that good or NC State's defense was that bad. And Dave Doran will not receive any, I hope next season or in the next few years will really be good after this one. Because his offense is loaded. And his schedule is easy other than playing Tennessee this week and then playing Clemson the next week. After that, it's easy peasy for him. He doesn't play Florida State. He doesn't play Miami. But that defense was that bad. Just like Clemson's offense as a whole performance was that bad. Yes, the offensive line was blocking a little better. And yeah, there was a couple of good catches here and there. But overall, from scheme top to bottom, it was bad. When you look at SMU struggling with a team like Nevada, what are they doing? Well, that was week 1. Okay, all right, maybe so. VT losing to Vanderbilt? What an embarrassment. The ACC is terrible, and it may very well be the worst conference in the Power 5. Let me know your thoughts. Drop a line in the comments section. There's a bunch of you in here. It's lunch break for some of you, or some of you are like, look, I'm going to just put my AirPods in. I'm going to listen to this guy ramble. I just hope you will subscribe. I talked about this earlier. Congratulations to all of you. And I credit y'all. Y'all have subscribed. A lot of you have subscribed out the wazoo. 2 weeks ago, I said, hey, I'm almost to 4,000 subscribers. If you guys, if you don't mind pushing me there to 4,000 subscribers, I'm now, as of this morning, 4,600 subscribers. Y'all are showing out. If you haven't subscribed, I hope you'll subscribe. It's free. And for all of you who have subscribed, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know me, I just enjoy talking about my favorite football team and college football. Let's get in here and look at some of the comments. I'm going to make this as fast as I possibly can. Tyler Burbeck, FSU. Having a worse record than Cal is absolutely hilarious. That is funny. Fusion plays sports game. That's my nephew. You're supposed to be at school, young man. What are you doing? It is funny that every ACC team DJ is on sucks. You are crazy. Angie Lambetter, I'm so glad you went over your goal on your channel. Angie, let me tell you this. Angie talks trash. She's a big Georgia fan, but she is a faithful, subscriber on this channel and always shows up. Angie, I hope you're doing well. I hate that your team won, but they look doggone good, so I know you're happy. I'm glad you're here. Make this even faster. Bruce, not panicking yet. It was Georgia. Bruce, I mean, I get what you're saying. It was Georgia, but we used to be at a time in Clemson to where we could play Georgia and beat Georgia, even if they were that good. We've now declined so far in the Clemson community to where now we're making excuses why we're losing games like that. And we've been yelling for the past 3 years, hey, something is wrong, something is wrong, something was wrong. We were told that we were wrong. Well, I think this past Saturday proves that we are right. Clemson is slowly continuing the decline, and I'm not panicking with you. It's just a game. I agree with you. Let's not panic, but I don't think no one in the Clemson community should be okay with losing by 31 points to anyone. But hey, it is what it is. Will ND, if NC State improves and actually beats Tennessee, it won't be a bad start for the ACC. I get what you're saying. I'll believe it when I see it. I'm going to keep going through here. Irv704, my nose. Yeah, I'm sorry, my friend. I'm with you. ACC has been trashed since 2000, aside from Clemson, FSU, GT, with an occasional good team from. You're right. You're 100%. You are right. John Dry, good to see you, my old man. I'm glad Texas Tech ain't in the ACC. Hey, John Dry, I want to put you on the spot. Have you and I ever talked before? Not on here. I think I know who you are. I'm going to ask you, does your son play for Texas Tech? And if you say your son plays for Texas Tech, I think you and I have actually talked before. Throw it in the comment section. Parker Henderson, my old buddy. Parker, I talked to your better half yesterday, your brother. I need to talk to you. BC looked good, but FSU looked like a typical BC team. Oh, okay. Okay, I like that. Parker supports the channel. You see that circle beside his name? That means he joined, not only subscribed, he joined. $3, $5 per month. Either one, you choose. Parker, thanks for always being a friend to the channel. No, old Bobby Durkins. Bobby Durkins is back for some of y'all. Y'all don't know. Bobby Durkins is back, so y'all need to go check him out. Let's see. This is a big comment right here. I think ESPN will drop the ACC soon. If they do, John, if they do, is that where the ultimate realignment kind of comes up? And it's not just Clemson and Florida State. It's everybody. Every man for himself. Do we get a new conference that includes some of the unwanted teams from what was left of the ACC, and then bring in some of the teams from like Washington State and Oregon State, who are not in a conference, if my memory serves me correct? That's a great question. I like that. John Doe, pretty sure they won a Natty in 01. Yes, they won a Natty in 01, and that was the last time. They were unbelievable. They had some good players. I got to see Devin Hester playing in person. That was great. WB2DS, App State 45, Clemson 3. I will be doing a preview of this game, maybe even today. But anyway. Until I see Clemson lose a conference game, then I got Clemson winning the conference. That's interesting. There's a lot of people believe that. Merle Hooper, the ACC is most years is not that great except for 2 or 3 teams. That's true. That's true. Let's see. Kentucky football fans are the worst. That's hilarious. trying to go through here quicker. James Thompson, the defense stayed in the locker room at halftime, got gashed in second half. I think they got tired, and then Georgia figured out that there was a cornerback that they could pick on, and they picked on him. They picked on him big time. See, you're right, at John Dry. It's a very bad look, and ESPN and others are having a field day on my nose in this conference. That being said, we still need to get out. Yeah. I mean, this is making everybody's day on Heather Dinich. She made her comments a few weeks ago. I called it out. And the reason I called it out is because when Clemson was beating the trash out of everyone, ESPN didn't want to accept that Clemson was actually better. They didn't. So for me, that's where it comes from. But what just happened over the past few days hasn't helped the cause whatsoever of being taken serious. Drop some likes for not Bobby Durkins, y'all. Hey, don't kill me. I'm just a vibe. Look at that. Can't wait for Dabba to go on a rant in November telling us how spoiled we are for complaining over another 9-win season. Don't kill me. I'm just a vibe. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. That is very kind of you. You didn't have to do that. I mean, was there a call-in show last night, or was that moved to, and you know what I mean. It's not a call-in show. It's a text-in show. It's the coaching show. And in all honesty or transparency, a lot of teams do that. They text in the questions, and they pull the questions, and they'll give him a couple of more difficult questions, like how bad do you feel, and and then some manila questions. Do you think there needs to be changes on the offense? Well, there are rocks that are buried into the asphalt that believes that, and they didn't even watch the game. So what an easy question. But I don't think that too many difficult questions will be asked of Coach Sweeney via text, or it will be asked. They just won't make it to him. Guy Powell, just listen to ramble while working. I like it. I can just sit here and ramble. Would you like for me to talk about butterflies and how they are taken away from the glory of a hornet? You're like, wow, you've really studied that? Nope, just made it up, and I can roll with it, baby. Glad you're here. Going down through here, like my 3-year-old says, easy peasy mac and cheesy. This is true. Dean Wilson believes, hey, Georgia's #1. We'll get a lot better. Dean, you're way more optimistic than me. Assassin, hey, Brian Dabo said on College Game Day, the scoreboard doesn't matter. That's the case. Why are we trotting on the field? It's like I said yesterday, you have to understand how to speak Dabo. And I'm not saying you don't, but you can't make that comment and then lose 34-3 in the next 3.5 hours. Andrew, Clemson should be measured only as far back as the last 4 years. So saying it was Georgia is fair. We will measure growth by the full season outlook once played, then start firing everyone. Man, I'm just at the point now. It's like, I've heard all of this before. I don't want to hear it again. I mean, that's really where I'm at in my fandom, if that makes sense. Former App State grad student here smelling blood in the water. Hey, App has a reputation for it. Okay, John, you said possibly so. My son doesn't, but my daughter might play. In fact, okay, so since you said that, I actually had a business deal working with a company with a guy whose name is John. And a lot of people under here, obviously, they're on the channel, they go by another name or some variation of their name. So, they kind of keep their identity hid. They're not dumb enough to put themselves on YouTube. But his son plays for Texas Tech. And so you mentioned Texas Tech, and I was like, I wonder if this is him. Anyway, it's good to see you. Dr. Gonzo, good to see you in here. Go Tigers. How does UGA make halftime adjustments and we can't? That's a great question. How was Duke in game shape last year, but some of our players on Clemson's team was not? There's a lot of good questions, and they'll continue to be unanswered. Jay, chiming in, same thing. Dr. Gonzo, I've been saying the ACC is terrible for years. Now I'm proven right. Hey, man, sometimes you just got to wait. Like me, I had to wait all off season saying that Clemson was going to lose Georgia. And I had some of you come on here. You looked at me and you said these weird comments. You said, we don't need that negativity. I agree. We don't need to be negative for negative's sake. We don't need to be the people who nothing ever works and everything is bad. I agree with that. But we don't need to treat a water leak in the ceiling lightly and claim that, it just rained a little much, somehow got in, we're fine. That water leak in the ceiling would destroy your house. And Clemson's had a water leak in its ceiling for a while. We've been told it's nothing. We were told that we expected too much. Well, 34-3. Rocks in the asphalt is crazy. I like that metaphor. Good to see you, Nate Watson. Good to see you, my friend. Jose, as a Miami fan, I'm upset. What upsets me is that the media is who pushes the Miami is back narrative. We may be or may not, but the media sets us up to be laughed at when we lose. This is true. I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%. I've officially stopped listening to Dabo's pressers. Listen, I don't listen to most post-game, pre-game, or post-practice interviews from really anybody. I think Matt Luke, I paid attention to his this year. Because here's the thing. Is Dabo going to walk out and go, all hope is lost and everything's terrible and blah, 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 blah? No, he's not. And he shouldn't. He shouldn't come out there and say that. But when you know that he is going to have to be overly positive and just try to keep everything pulled together because that's his role, no shot at him. I'm just asking this. Why do that? I'm with you. Let me see. Bird to fly. I like this question. Who would you take in a game of South Carolina versus FSU? Listen, I watched all of that South Carolina Old Dominion game because my oldest, he's a great kid except for one thing. He's a Gamecock. That's because of his grandfather, who I'm friends with, who I have hard feelings toward for turning him into a Gamecock. He watches my show, so I know he's going to hear that. I watched all of that South Carolina Old Dominion game. Their quarterback turned the ball over 4 times. Had he turned it over one less time, y'all would have lost that game. Even with as bad as Florida State's been and taking the Clemson-South Carolina rivalry out of the equation, Florida State beat you. Y'all were that bad. Y'all were that bad, unfortunately. Well, fortunately for me, but for you, really bad. GT is winning the ACC. You heard it first there. Hey, at this point, who knows? Gator Hater. Hello, Brian. Well, hey there to you. Faith Thomas. Hey, y'all. In from Los Angeles with love from the state, Louisiana, Georgia, Alabama, Syracuse, where my uncle was aided. But I graduated community college. It's good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. Glad you're here, Faith. Bruce, you're not wrong. Taj Deshaun and Trevor were a lot better to do with it. Had a lot to do with talent we would attract on both sides of the ball. We were blessed. Very hard to sustain that level of elite talent for any program. I do agree with that, John. I do agree with that. And I talked to Chase Henderson yesterday, Parker's brother. Chase is a more optimistic person than me. He's more optimistic. He's like, yes, it's bad. Yes, there's some things. But, and he and I we know one another. We know how one another approaches the game. And so, for me, I do agree with that. Not to try and to find common ground with you. I agree with you. I just think when Clemson, and I'm going to say it out loud, when Clemson fans were questioning things over the past 3 years that could have been changed, that should have been changed, that it had that been addressed properly, sure, we might have lost Saturday, but we wouldn't have lost that bad. So I agree with you, but I also agree with a lot of this just deals with decisions. So anyway, CW2, good to see you, my friend. Going to move through this a little faster. If I've missed some of y'all please forgive me. I'm surprised Georgia doesn't have the Squidbillies billboard around the stadium. That would be funny. With Unknown Henson. With Unknown Henson as the voice, which I don't think. I think they had to part ways because of some controversy. But Unknown Henson. Has anyone ever watched Unknown Henson? Hilarious. Absolutely crazy. The guy's actually a really good guitar player. A really good guitar player. Run Maffa. Run Maffa. All right, folks. Whew. Tried to get in there to the comments section. The ACC is terrible. And I think that right now, until it stands up, puts its fist up for itself and say, we are not the worst conference. We got off to a slow start, which between you and I believe that's baloney. I would just say that I just think it's terrible. I had some comments come in here, and I'm looking at this. Great question. Why wasn't Clemson fans trashing the ACC when they was winning natties? That's a great question. It's because when Clemson played Ohio State and they were winning national championships, and they were playing Oklahoma and they were playing Notre Dame and they were playing the darling of college football, Alabama, they were beating them. Clemson was not just thrilled to lose a game close, like a lot of us would have taken this past week. Transparently, I know that's the reason why. And the SEC hated it because they were, or I say the SEC, ESPN was hating it. I see them basically one and the same. Because Clemson was in the South, but they were not part of the SEC. And they were coming in and doing what they did. The year that Clemson, it was in 2015, went to the national championship, they lost it, but with Deshaun Watson, they had the third toughest schedule in the country. And part of that was the ACC. That's when Lamar Jackson was at Louisville. So that excuse was taken away, and they still dislike Clemson. So, but that is a good question. It's valid. Folks, one more question. Do you think ESPN, the ACC, has a secret bounty on FSU? I don't think so. I mean, I'm just saying, I watch Florida State play. I just don't. I don't think so. New King says, hey, listen, don't include Miami. We actually winning. Hey, listen, all I said about Miami was, y'all prove it to me. Y'all prove it. You did win, and you had a dominating win. And that's the thing that I'll say about, that I always tell my kids. When you play a bad team, you beat a bad team bad, right? And y'all pretty much did that. Y'all pretty much did that. So I agree with you. I agree with you. But I ain't sold on y'all. I'm not biting. History is what I base a lot of my decisions on. And so history says that y'all probably gonna blow it. But before you get mad, New King God. We'll see. We will see. All right, folks, you take care of yourself. Leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. If you haven't subscribed, I know you keep hearing this, but man, it is just absolutely just blowing up. And that's because of y'all. That's really kind of y'all. So hope you'll subscribe. And if you want to join on a monthly basis, there is a join button below there. Most importantly, I'm just glad you're here. Drop a line. Let me know you're in here. I try to get to my comments. Don't answer most of them because there's been a lot of them, but I do appreciate y'all. And I hope y'all have a good day. Take care of yourself. And be looking for that App State. Will they upset Clemson? Prediction. That's weird how I said that. Prediction. I'm going to go lie down now. Go Tigers.